Welcome back to Nightly Nonsense, making some sense out of the nonsense. Notice I never said in there that you're going to like any of it, that you're going to even appreciate all of it. You might even disagree with it, right? We just said we're trying to make some sense out of the nonsense, the craziness. God warns us. He tells us that in the last days there's going to be a lot of nonsense, a lot of craziness, right? A lot of things that we're just not going to understand are going to happen, right? And so, again, what's the purpose of that? Well, the purpose of all of this is to work out the purpose and the plan that God has for all of us, which is that we attend a wedding feast with Him that He's throwing in honor of His Son, Jesus. The invitations have gone out. All are invited. God so loved the world, right? He gave His only begotten Son. Right? And then it's God doesn't want anybody to perish. Right? So He sent out the invite and accept, confess, repent your need for Jesus. Right? And then you get to come. But we got a bunch of people that were invited to the wedding banquet, to the wedding feast, that are just outright saying no. They're saying, no, not coming. God's reminded them they don't want to come. Let's pick it up in chapter 22 of Matthew. I want you to look at verse 5, right? Verse 5 says, "But they paid no attention and went off, one to his farm, another to his business, while the rest seized his servants, treating them shamefully, and killed them." Now listen, there's one thing to be, I want to say dumb enough, but I guess you could say brave enough to say no to the invitation repeatedly, right? And just go about doing your own thing, right? One went to his farm, one went to his business, right? We're just going to do our own thing. No, I don't have time for this Jesus thing. I'm doing well myself. My home's good. My business is good. What in the world do I need Jesus for? Nope, too busy for Jesus. Now again, we can talk about that. People talk about that all the time. You're using the gifts and talents that God has given you for your selfishness, for your purposes. All with the whole idea that if you just make more money, if you just do more things, you're going to give God more eventually. The problem is, I hear that line all the time from well-intentioned people. If I could just make more money, I would give more to God. And there's never enough money, and they're never giving more to God. Right? They might give a little more of a percentage because they're making more, right? But they're never giving more of it. It's for them. They're working for them. They're working because they want to have things. And so, again, we say no to God. But at the end of this, He throws in something that there are people out there that they go a step further and they mistreat, right, the people who are trying to invite them. Man, if you don't want anything to do with Jesus and you don't want anything to do with His people, then just don't have anything to do with it. Why do you have to be so mad and angry? I mean, for something that you don't want anything to do with, why are you so mad and angry about the people who do want to do? I mean, do they get mad and angry when you want to have a cheeseburger and they want to have chicken? I mean, like if you don't want anything to do with the wedding feast, why are you mad at the people who do want to do? Right? Is it possible that you should be going to the wedding feast? You should be involved in the things, right? I sit all the time and listen to people come up with the craziest reasons why we shouldn't have Bible studies, why we shouldn't let people serve, why we shouldn't do these things, while they do none of it. And most of the time, the real thing is they feel guilty about not going to Bible studies, so if we don't have any, they don't have to worry about it. Or if they can find something wrong with the person leading the Bible study, then it makes them feel better about not attending. I mean, like, really, it makes them feel better. If you can just prove that your pastor is a terrible, awful person, then it gives you the right to not be at church. Nothing gives you the right to not be at church. Nothing gives you the right to forsake participating in a gathering of the brethren. Nothing gives you permission to just walk in at 10:05 and leave at 11. Nothing gives you permission to do that. It doesn't matter how bad the people are. Your relationship with Jesus Christ is about you and Him, not you and the person next to you, not you and the pastor, not you and the worship leader, not you and the Sunday school teacher. We got a real problem because we have people who are mistreating the people trying to say, hey, why don't you do this? Why don't you do this differently? Why don't you do this more? And never enters their mind that while they're encouraging the people that work with them or for them to work harder, to give more, to do more, to be more, to keep moving at your profession, if you say to somebody, hey, maybe you should read the Bible more, it's an offense. If you say to something, maybe you should pray more, maybe you should talk to people more, maybe you should be at more Bible studies, maybe you should be teaching, maybe you should be doing something with the gifts and talents of God, people get offended. But at work and at home, you can ask people to give more. It's perfectly acceptable. It's like you should. There are times where you should ask your kids to give more. You should ask your spouse to give more. There's times where you should give the people who are working for you or the people you're working for, you should give more or ask for more. Like that's normal. But if we ask for more in the church world and remind people that maybe they need to give a little more, maybe they should take it a little more serious, all hell breaks loose. Isn't that funny? It's funny that when you call somebody accountable to being a Christian, rather than their response being, yeah, yep, I should probably do that, they turn the conviction just moves you into something, but guilt has you living there. It turns into guilt, and then they destroy people and things because they don't want to feel guilty. Don't make me feel guilty. Nobody's making you feel guilty. If the pastor stands up and says, hey, maybe we should all pray a little bit more, and you feel something about that, that's probably conviction. If you refuse to do something about that, well, now you're going to probably be living in guilt because you're living in disobedience. So how are you responding? Are you responding with a no? Got too much to do. Can't give God a little bit more. Don't really care. I'm going to make it to the banquet late. I'm going to make it to the banquet at some time, but not right this second because I got to do my stuff first. But I'll get around to it. Are you saying, well, not only can I not come, but I wish and I hope that nobody comes. And this whole idea is goofy. I'm going to beat people up for it. I don't understand. And I get, probably sounds like I'm angry. It's really not. I'm intense about it. Intense about this whole thing because I don't get it. I don't get why people are so upset with other people trying to live a little more gooder lives. What does Christianity do to step in the way of you living the life that you want to live? Do you know that my Bible says I have to love you no matter what you do? I don't have to accept what you do. You don't have to accept what I do, but you have to love me. How is that making the world a better or worse place? How's that about hate? Like, it's not at all about hate. I gotta love you. I love you enough, by the way, to say to you, like, hey, that's probably not best for you. That's probably not good for you. But the world says that if you want to love somebody, you have to accept everything they do. Be like, it's okay that you do that. No, God's never going to say it's okay that you do certain things. Still going to love you. So again, same question, probably night 3. What are you doing with your invitation? Are you saying no and going about doing what you want to do? Or are you saying no and hating on the people who are inviting you? Like, what are you doing with your invitation? Chew on that. I'll come back maybe a little less intense next week, tomorrow night for Nightly Nonsense. We're going to keep going through this Matthew chapter 22, the great banquet. That's the end game for the end times. We'll see you next time.